Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about air quality and what you can do to kind of mitigate some of the things with air quality here in India. And we're going to talk about what happens at AES and where we can get our information from and what you can do for air quality in your apartment if there's a concern for you. But first I wanted to introduce everybody. Maureen and Janice, you guys know. I hope you know at this point, but I wasn't sure if you knew who Sarabjit was. Sarabjit is our facilities manager here at AES, and Sarabjit and I work really closely together on the air quality stuff here at school. I guess what we're going to be doing today is just kind of having a conversation about it, and Maureen and Janice and Sarabjit, feel free to kind of lead in if you've got something, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about air quality here in India, especially in New Delhi, and about when does it start to get bad and how bad does it really get?
I would say that bad air starts right around Diwali, which is the end of October.
Okay, all right.
It almost can be defined on the day we return from Diwali.
Yeah.
Really, that's typically when we see that.
Yeah, and as it starts getting a little bit cooler overnight, I think there's a little bit of burning overnight, and then you see it starting to creep up in the early mornings, especially.
Yeah.
Through late October.
Yeah, and what I've noticed is that time right after Diwali is when it's at its worst. And how long does the bad air quality season last usually?
I'd say mid-February.
Okay.
And thankfully, for some of us, that anyone on campus that's able to travel out of Delhi, at least for the holidays, that it's probably about 4 weeks of holidays within that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Diwali dates they change every year. This year, Diwali is on 14th of November. So we can hope for some better air days in the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background about why it is that we have bad air quality, from what I understand and from what I've read, is that it's a couple of different things. It's farmers outside of Delhi, mainly in Rajasthan. Is that right, Sarabjit?
In Punjab and Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah, and Punjab and UP. Right around Diwali is usually the end of one of their seasons for farming, and they burn after they've harvested the crops, they burn their fields to do a quick turnaround so that they can replant again. And what happens is all of that smoke from the Punjab and Rajasthan just comes right over Delhi. And so that's the thing number one. And thing number two is, from what I understand, is Delhi's kind of in a bowl like this. And when it gets to Delhi, because of the time frame when it cools down, like Janice was talking about, all of that just sinks and sits right on top of that bowl. And it doesn't really start to get better until it starts to warm up again. So that's what I've heard about it. I'm not sure how accurate all of that is or not, but it sounds really good. Go ahead.
Add to your line, Bob, over here that due to this geographical condition of Delhi, and there are no winds that blow at that period of time. So whatever comes from Punjab and that smog that stays here and it just sinks down. So that is the reason it's really bad. And sometimes we get lucky. There is a flow of air and then we really see that air quality is improved. But this is how it is.
Yeah, and it's not actually all from the farmers either. I mean, there's people use biomass as a fuel source to cook. Quite often here in Delhi, you'll see some of the security guards outside of their people's apartments, especially when it gets colder. There's people having fires to stay warm at night, that type of thing. And so there's lots of different reasons why it does happen. Now, it's not 4 months of horrible air quality, right?
Correct. We have some, like Sarabjit said, when the winds come in, when every once in a while you get these really nice days, or we might get a rain every once in a while, and there are things that clear it out. And we have some beautiful days in every month, but in December and January, we have some really nice times too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
then,
what you'll see is it starts to improve during the daytime. It may be in the morning, when the temperature is cooler, the AQI is really high. And then once things start to heat up towards the afternoon, the air quality will invariably get better.
Yeah. And we can tell.
Yeah. And if you like to do stuff outside, it's often good through those winter months to plan for the end of the day, because it's sometimes quite nice by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The air quality improves, and you can get out and go for a walk, go for a run, exercise, play.
Yeah. So the school here, AES, they get all of their information from the U.S. Embassy's website. They have a, Sarabjit, do you remember what that thing is called? The BAM? Is that what it's called?
Yes. BAM.
I don't remember what BAM stands for, but they have this $70,000 air quality monitor that is on the embassy compound. And you can go to the website. I'm going to put the website here into a link into this video. But you can go there and check what the air quality is. Now, I'm going to say that with a kind of a grain of salt, a huge one, because their $70,000 machine doesn't always work. And there are times when it doesn't. And so the school, when it is working, will use that as a basis for what the air quality is for AES, because number one, it's right across the street from the school, and number two, it's really a high quality air monitor when it's working. But there are other air quality monitoring systems that people do use. And do you guys know what some of those are?
I know one is Air Visual.
Yeah, Air Visual. And I'll go ahead and see if I can find the link for that, and I'll put that in here. It's an app that you can get on your phone also, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what a lot of people will do. So they'll have, unfortunately, the U.S. Embassy's site doesn't have an app, but Air Visual does. And I think we need to kind of say a little bit about the difference between Air Visual and the U.S. Embassy site. The calculations that they use are different calculations. The U.S. Embassy site is based off of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency's basis for air quality index, for the U.S. air quality index. And the Air Visual one uses the Indian AQI calculation. And those two things are different things and will give you different results. For the most part, they're pretty close, but when Air Visual says one thing, the embassy site will say something else. And that could be because of the calculation difference, or it could be because where their monitors are, because air quality can be very kind of localized too, right? When we have okay readings in Chanakapuri, over in Vasant Vihar or something, it might be completely different, right? And so when the school bases their air quality readings, on whether or not kids can go out to play or not for outside recess, it's all based off of that U.S. Embassy website when it's working, which is, I'd say, 95% of the time. And Sarabjit, where do we get air quality information if it's down?
Okay, so I would like to add to your thing about the BAM readings that we get from US Embassy. BAM does all its calculation on the basis of PM 2.5. Mm-hmm. And as Air Visuals, as you said, it takes other readings also where VOCs and other factors take a play. So sometimes we have observed during the high air quality days, some of the parents have objected that this particular site is showing X amount of reading while school is saying this Y amount of reading, Y number of reading. That is mainly reason of how it is calculated. But coming to your question, sorry, Bob, what you said?
What do we use when the U.S. Embassy site isn't working?
We have dust tracks on campus. So what we do, we physically go to the tiger turf. We take the readings over there. What is the exact reading at that very moment? And that is what we share with the school, which connects with our how we inform our community that if it is an outdoor day or it's not an outdoor moment. So our dust track is used to take the measurements.
One of the questions that we often get from our new faculty is, first of all, what are the limits for each division for indoor versus outdoor? And then on average, how many days per week during those bad air months do children typically have to remain inside for recess or physical activity? Those are the questions that we're getting.
Yeah. So the thresholds for children for outdoor play or PE, that type of thing, is different per division. It's AQI of 200 or below for the elementary school students. So when it goes above 200, no elementary school student is allowed to go out for PE, or their PE classes have to be indoors. They're not allowed for outdoor recess. They'll open up spaces within the NPRs and the gyms and that kind of stuff, and they'll typically play in the pods too. And then for middle school and high school students, the threshold is 300. And so we just moved to that 2 years ago. It used to be 300 for everybody, and then we decided that after doing research that really those younger children need that threshold to be lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you have any idea, Sarabjit, of the number of days that we're inside?
We keep the data. In December of 2019, in total, there were 7 days which were completely outdoor restricted days. So we do calculate, we keep the record of every 2 hours reading, and we see how many times it was full day restriction not to go outside. Sometimes it happens that in the morning, as Bob said, it's morning temperature is cooler, so the air quality is really bad. And at 8 o'clock, you may get a message that it's a no outdoor time. But at 11 o'clock, sun is up and air quality gets better. So it's not 100% restricted day. But there were 7 days in December, last December, when it was a complete no day out.
And on occasion, there's also some out of school activities that happen on our campus in the evening, like Wi-Fi. The air quality, they do not follow the same, do they follow the same air quality procedures or not?
I can't speak about Wi-Fi, but the coaching, like ASIAC or MESAC sports do. And so that if we have some type of activity and the AQI goes above, they typically, Janice, correct me if I'm wrong, they'll move, if they're normally outdoor, they'll move those practices indoors.
Yeah, they'll do, they'll run stairs, they'll do fitness or something, but we don't, with that threshold of 300 and afternoon practices, there aren't very many that have to be moved in the last year for sure. There weren't a whole lot.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Okay. We talked just briefly about, somebody had talked about the notifications that we have a system that gets the data from the U.S. Embassy every hour, because that's the U.S. Embassy system posts it every hour for the previous hour. And so what happens then is if it goes above the threshold, it sends out an email notification to the teachers in that division. And then once it goes down below the threshold again, it'll also send another notification system or notification to those teachers and administrators within the division. Sarabjit, how else do we let people know that it's bad air quality time?
So when it is more than the threshold, we put red flags in the areas, which shows that students should not come out. So teachers and TAs make sure that everything is indoors. They don't go out for their recess or for their play areas, or PE classes should not happen outside.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So facilities team makes sure that the moment air quality is improved, it goes, notification has come out. Those flags are removed if they are up by then.
Okay. I'd like to kind of change tack a little bit and talk, instead of talking about the actual air quality, but talking about what we do here at AES, because I know that we've spent a lot of money here at AES to be able to clean our air system, and it works really well. Sarabjit, can you talk a little bit about the fresh air purification system that we use?
Yeah, now on campus, we have almost 42 units for school side. And in addition, we have 17 units for the on-campus housing. So in total, we have 59 fresh air purification system. This purification system is based on PM 2.5, which means the product itself guarantees that it will be 70% better air than what is outside. So no matter what is outside, you will get 70% guaranteed improved air. But we have seen in all these years that our air is much better, more than 90%, 95% indoors. So these systems are working really fine till date, and our results are really super good. There is a really high level of maintenance that is taken care. There is high level of filters, proper periodic cleaning, as well as its replacement cycle that is strictly followed and is adhered on campus.
And do those run 24 hours a day?
No, they don't run 24 hours a day. We turn them off late in the evening, say after the classes are over. It depends if it's, say it's back to school night, certain events which happen up till 8 or 9, we keep them running. In a normal school practice, 5 or 6 p.m. it gets turned off. And then in the morning, it turns on at around 2, 3. We don't turn on all the system at one go because it adds a lot of pressure. So we gradually start turning them on at 2 o'clock. And then by 5 a.m., if all the systems are on, so that when teachers come into the classroom, say at 7:30, 8 o'clock, the system is up and running and all the air is clean.
Yeah.
And once teachers are there, then students come in. So our first.
And what about weekends?
Weekends, it's only on request. If we know there are certain activities, events happening on campus, we make sure the air is clean. But there are certain areas which are open, like fitness center, areas which are open on weekends. Those systems keep on running even on the weekends. We do get a detailed schedule from physical education department about how gymnasium will be used, or if there are activities, special activities from IPOP. Sometimes certain activities happen on Saturday also. We do get all those information, and it is put into the system that these classes will happen and these other timings. So we accordingly we set the timings.
Yeah. We also have air quality monitors throughout the school. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many we have right now? I'm trying to remember.
125.
125 air quality monitors. And we actually have a dashboard that we've set up that shows what the average air quality is for each building that's available to the public here. I'm going to go ahead and share that link in here also, but you can go in and see it for what is the air quality for all of Ashok or ES Neem or the high school, the high school, the main administration, the physical activities center, and it shows what the AQI has been over a specific time period. You can go in and change it and mess with it. And if you like playing with data like I do, then you can go in and, mess around with it to your heart's extent. But that's available also. And what's one of the nice things about it that I like is that it shows what that building is, the AQI, and the percentage of reduction of the AQI compared to what it is outside. Yeah. Right? It'll show you that, like right now I'm looking at the Stein building, and the AQI in the Stein building right now is 4, and the AQI outside is 63, and so it's a 96% reduction, right? Or 94% reduction, excuse me. I think that's kind of cool, but it'll show you the AQI, what it is for PM 2.5, PM 10, CO2, the temperature, humidity, all of that kind of stuff. Okay.
And one of the new faculty questioned me about if our monitors shows VOC. No,
No.
they don't show VOC. So just for all of you to know that it does not
For
show VOC. So
for
that
those of you that don't know what VOCs are, they're volatile organic
compounds.
compounds. So since I've been working with Cerbjeet, I have learned a lot about the AQI measurements. And if you ever need or having problems going to sleep, I can spend about 20 minutes with you talking about how to compute the AQI level from the PM 2.5 volume readings, if you'd like. I mean, it's really fascinating stuff. So I'd like to, I think that covers everything about the school, the physical school itself. Maureen, Janice, do you have anything that we needed to add for that part, do you think? Okay. Maybe we can talk a little bit about apartments, your apartment living, and how air quality, how that works.
Okay.
I think it depends on where you live. Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead,
So I
Maureen.
was going to say, I live off campus, and for overseas-based overseas hires who receive the housing benefit, we are given 2 air purifiers, similar to the ones that you see on campus, the smaller ones on campus, the Sharp air purifiers. We receive 1 for your main room and 1 for each occupied bedroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's even if you're doubling up and sharing an apartment with somebody. If there's 2 people, then they'll get 2 for their living room and 1 for each of the occupied bedrooms, right?
Correct. And also, the school does maintenance on those filters. So they do once in the summertime, once in December. So when you'll get a notice that says maintenance, there's a maintenance list, and it'll say your apartment's going to be looked at on this specific date. Then that's one of the things that they're working on.
I just want to clarify, it's 1 in living room and 1 per occupied bedroom. So even if you are sharing apartment, living room is 1, so there is 1 air purifier. It does not go by number of family
Oh, okay.
occupants, but it goes by the area.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay. And in on-campus apartments, we have central filtration. Is that right, Sarabjit? Yeah. So the apartments have clean air coming in, and some people also choose to purchase filters. We have a few in our house. Everyone has a different idea or tolerance level, I guess. But I think probably most people have additional filters on top of the school central filtration.
It's some do. We don't, but
Okay.
I think there's some people that do that have them in every room, and it's really up to your personal preference and what you want to do, like you said.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people will also get monitors themselves. They're called, some people, they're laser counters. They count particles. I think they're called laser eggs, or is one brand. I'll see if I can find a link to put into this also.
The laser egg is available for purchase at Nirvana Being in the store in Con Market.
Okay. And depending on the model that you get, that some of them have a smartphone app that you can read it off of. You can be at school and looking at your AQI in your apartment or something like that. It all depends. It depends on what it is that you want to be able to do. And just know that, like, I think they're pretty good indicators of what the air quality is, but it's not like if you buy something for $50 as an air quality monitor, it's not going to be exact, or your mileage may vary with them. But I think that they're a pretty good indicator of what the air quality is.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, is that it's a way to see if maybe there's an issue. So if you saw that it went way up, you can go, what's going on? I also think I would caution I would caution the, the attachment to it and the
Hmm.
feeling of
Yeah.
that over checking and getting, obsessing over it can maybe be not so good for the mind.
Yes.
It's funny, like we had one when we first got here, and we would notice like it would go crazy if Tracy lit a candle, right? Like,
Yeah.
or if we cooked bacon, like it would just skyrocket, and like these are things that you wouldn't necessarily associate with bad air quality, but they contributed to the air quality, right? It's the same type of thing. Um, and so I think it kind of put things in perspective for me, like looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, it does increase the air quality in your, using these, but I'm not going to tell Tracy to not burn a candle, right?
Right.
Or nobody's going to tell me to not eat bacon. So I think it's you have to keep things in perspective a little bit with it. I'd like to kind of finally, or not quite finally, one move over to masks a little bit, and mask usage, and where you can get them and that type of thing. Maureen, you were talking about because of COVID now, there's some kind of what we normally use isn't necessarily going to be as available.
What you see with masks are that they have a valve on them, and the companies that sell them with the valves, there's like small black circles. They're not producing those anymore because of COVID, because the CDC has recommended that you not wear a mask with the valve in it. So they
There's
are,
one right here.
yeah, correct. Yeah, there you go. So now they're selling them, but they're certified to block out the PM 2.5. They just don't have the valve on them. And they say that they last for about 2 months. You can wash them. The price was about 1,000 rupees. So it's a little store next to Fab India in Khan Market called Nirvana Being.
Okay.
So a website, and Bob can add that to the presentation.
Okay.
And they also have the O2 curve mask. You see it, looks like a little tube like this as well, that's available. And those were about 7,000 rupees. And the filters for a set of 10 was 2,400 rupees. And I would say that those would be good for just your normal everyday walking around outside. And then Janice, I think they have recommendations for those exercising.
Yeah, so the one brand that a lot of people use for exercising is a Respro mask, and those have the valve to make it easier to breathe. I still don't have my plan in place for valve or no valve for this winter, but Respro has a website as well that you can order. I think they come in from the UK. Also, that I know that some people do run with those, the one that Maureen was talking about, the O2 Curve, and I think it's a somewhat comfortable mask. They're never going to be super comfortable, but we all know that, and we get used to it and do what we have to. As far as exercising goes, again, everyone has their thresholds, and I think a lot of people have very firm thresholds. I know I look, okay, if it's over 200, I'm going to wear my mask. Other people might just stick to the, stay inside all winter. But it's figuring out your own levels, and it is important to know that and watch the numbers through that season, and just be cautious. And with kids, we find that kids, the younger kids especially, get pretty good about wearing masks. I think you see at school because it's part of the culture, and when kids are outside during that season, they're wearing masks. It can be a little bit trickier with teenagers. They make more of their own choices, but again,
they're not going to have a choice now.
Everybody's,
right. Everybody's wearing a mask anyways.
Yeah,
so
some sort of a mask. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of finding your own way and making your own thresholds and rules. But
And
since we all have, go ahead, Maureen.
I was just going to say, but people with children under the age of that are non-school age children, I just would recommend talking to, there are several parents on campus that have children under the age of 5 that perhaps are under the age of 3, that you might talk to them about what they do for those very, very young children. You know, whether it's getting an extra purifier, even people on campus, even though it's a centralized system, you will find that some of them have still have an additional air purifier that they might place in that child's room. So just
Yeah.
something to think about, that you may want to put your plan in place by talking to our experts on campus.
Mhm. Yeah, and make sure that your house help or your AYA has an understanding of your expectations for whether your kids go outside in certain conditions, making that clear.
Okay, finally, I think the last thing I wanted to talk about, Maureen had a suggestion to talk about, if you're interested in trying to kind of shape or help our community with how we look at air quality or look at facilities. There's a standing board committee called the EFC committee, which stands for Environmental Facilities Committee, that Sarabjit and I are both on, that you are more than welcome to come to. I think that you can talk to Shika, Andy's secretary, to be added to the list, I believe. But we meet normally once a month, once school is in session. We haven't met yet, but I would imagine that here soon that we're going to be starting those meetings to talk about, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about air quality issues, but it's also about facilities in general. But air quality has always been one of the major things that we've talked about during that committee. And it's open to parents and faculty members to serve on the committee if you'd like. Any parting words from anybody about it, about air quality or what we're doing? No? Okay.
I think my only suggestion is to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the monitors, but don't let it become all consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Okay. Well, thank you, Janice, Maureen, and Sarabjit for taking time out of your schedule to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this video and then we'll send it out to the new teachers.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Oh, wait, I didn't hit record. No, I'm just joking.
I watched that. Now